He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got everybody here in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
So I'm the president, and I got these two things, and I said, you know what? I got the Olympics to come to the United States, and I got the World Cup to come to the United States, and I probably won't even be invited to be there. And I was really angry. And then they rigged the election, and then I said, I'm coming back. And I got the Olympics, and I got the World Cup. Right? Special day coming up. You know, we have a lot of them during this term. And interestingly, I had none of them had I not had a rigged election. Had the election not been rigged, I would have been out of here. I would have been gone. The radical left would have said, we got rid of him finally. But no, now they have me for another 4 years. We talk about that. When we made this, it was made during my term, my first term. And it was so sad because I said, can you imagine I'm not going to be president? And that's too bad. And then what happened is they rigged the election and I became president. So that was a good thing. That was a good thing. That was quite an achievement for both of us. So I'll be president during the World Cup and during the Olympics.
Mr. Curtis, would you please state your full name for the record?
My name is Clinton Eugene Curtis.
And where do you reside?
Tallahassee, Florida.
And what is your profession?
I'm a computer programmer.
Would you please speak into the microphone so the audience can hear your testimony?
I'm a computer programmer.
Mr. Curtis, are there programs that can be used to secretly fix elections?
Yes.
How do you know that to be the case?
Because in October of 2000, I wrote a prototype for Congressman Tom Feeney at the company I work for in Oviedo, Florida, that did just that.
And when you say did just that, it would rig an election?
It would flip the vote 51-49 to whoever you wanted it to go to and whichever race you wanted to win.
And would that program that you designed be something that elections officials that might be on county boards of elections could detect?
They'd never see it.
You guys read the Substack from This Will Hold that was released on September 8th? Have you read it? You don't have to read it. You can just go there, and at the top you can hit play, and it will read it to you. I just want to say this. Elon Musk, please come forward. Please don't stay silent. This regime has fucked you over. They cut you out. They literally cut the chain. Handed it over. Why don't you speak up? What did you do? You have all the money, all the protection you need. You can go anywhere you need to go. Speak up. She won. She won. She won, and the American people have been fucked over sideways. The American people did not cast their choice for dictatorship, and they never would. The only people who do are the idiots who believe the bullshit. And there's not enough of them to hand that over. She won, and we're sitting here with an illegitimate fascist fucking destroying your freedoms. Go read the article. She has connections that you and I don't have and we may never know about. But they're contacting her because they want you to know. These people want you to know, and she is that channel. She is giving you that information. Do not shut it out. Do not ignore it. Go read it.
As I said, we've been investigating Pennsylvania. We are very concerned as we've started digging a little deeper, not only the systems that we use. As I said, we're not accusing any of the companies of manipulating votes. We're saying the data has raised red flags. We're saying that the systems, if compromised maliciously by a third party, for example, that could be an avenue to do this. And the people running the elections could do everything right. The election officials could do everything right, and you could still potentially have this happen. And the other pushback we get is, the audits that we do in some of these swing states, well, they're generally smaller in scope and they're like a sample. And as we said, if there's a malicious compromise, and I count 2% of the audits or 2% of the ballots, the problem is if you're clever with how you manipulate things and you set a threshold or you set, high turnout as your focus, and the audits are only encompassing small amounts of votes in maybe the low turnout areas, you wouldn't catch this. Right. And that's really why we're saying, listen, the statistics tells us where to go look. These are the really anomalous precincts in these counties. We should go and we should double check these precincts. And we'll know very quickly, was there a problem or was there not?
Next case on the agenda is SEB 2024-151 multi-county pre-filled AB applications from November 2024.
The Secretary of State's office initiated an investigation on October 7th, 2024, after receiving complaints from several counties alleging that the organization America PAC, a political campaign, sent partially pre-filled absentee ballot applications to register voters in Chattooga, Cherokee, Coweta, Floyd, and Whitfield counties after the passage of a law that had made such activity unlawful.
Mr. Chair, I think that there is evidence to suggest that America PAC is in violation of 21-2-381 when they sent to an elector pre-filled absentee ballot applications in November of 2024, and evidence to suggest that America PAC is in violation of 21-2-381 when they failed to display in a conspicuous location the statutory language. This is not an official government publication and was not provided to you by any government entity, and this is not a ballot. Mr. Chair, I would move that we issue, I'd make a motion that we issue a letter of reprimand to America PAC.
We have a motion to issue a letter of reprimand to America PAC. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of issuing a letter of reprimand?
And then he journeyed to Pennsylvania, where he spent like a month and a half campaigning for me in Pennsylvania. And he's a popular guy, and he was very effective. And he knows those computers better than anybody, all those computers, those vote counting computers. And we ended up winning Pennsylvania like in a landslide. So it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So thank you to Elon.
All right, that happened today. That was a speech today, and you heard it. Elon went to Pennsylvania. He knows about the computer. So someone on the right explained to me how he did not just confess on a stage that they did something with those machines. Make it make sense to me, because, it looks pretty bad, right? Recount.
Next case on the agenda is SEB 20.
A new study just exposed what Elon Musk did to Twitter that had a major impact on the 2024 election. Researchers found that he altered people's algorithms, effectively causing a major shift in their political attitudes. When posts expressing anti-democratic attitudes and partisan animosity were boosted, even barely, in the feeds of Democrat and Republican supporters, there was a large change in their unfavorable feelings towards the other side. This is crazy. The degree of increased division achieved in 1 week by these changes that Elon made to X algorithms is as great as it would have taken 3 years between between these years. The scariest part about all of this is the fact that most of these users did not even notice the changes being made. The campaign was marked by divisive viral posts on X, including a fake image of Kamala Harris cozying up to Jeffrey Epstein at a gala, and an AI-generated image posted by Elon himself of Kamala Harris dressed up as a communist dictator. Of course, that had 84 million views. Repeated exposure to posts expressing anti-democratic attitudes and partisan animosity greatly influences users' feelings of polarization and
the 2024 election data is statistically absurd. The odds of 88 counties flipping red, none flipping blue, and winning all 7 swing states just above the automatic recount threshold is 1 in 50 octillion?
Whoa.
And we all know it was Muskrat.
That asshole had his claws in everything. He bought the app, rewrote the code, and boom, overnight half the country swings red.
Don't tell me that's a coincidence, okay? Look, I'm just showing the numbers here, but yeah, they're weird numbers, really.
I do not report on conspiracy theories, but a new lawsuit with sworn affidavits from voters alleges that there is proof the 2024 presidential election was rigged against Kamala Harris. Here's why. A user on TikTok pointed this out some days ago, but I wanted to fact check it before reporting on it. But now, there is a lawsuit in the state of New York arguing over voter irregularities in Rockland County, New York, and requesting a hand recount of the ballots. First, a user on TikTok pointed out that in Ramapo 35, Kirsten Gillibrand, the Democratic candidate for Senate, won with 331 votes, while the Republican candidate got just 82 votes, and there were only 4 write-ins. Meanwhile, in that same district, Kamala Harris got 0 votes. 0 votes for the Democrat at the top of the ticket, while the Democrat down ballot got 331 votes, and Donald Trump got 552 votes. In December, the Rockland County Business Journal reported that this didn't just happen in Ramapo 35. In at least 4 districts, Ramapo 35, 45, 84, and 87, Kamala Harris got 0 votes. Now, a lawsuit has been filed at the New York Supreme Court by a nonpartisan election watchdog group called Smart Legislation. The lawsuit claims that hundreds of Harris voters report voting for her in districts where she received 0 votes. Also, 9 voters in District 39 have sworn affidavits claiming that they voted for an independent candidate for U.S. Senate, Diane Sayre, but she only received 5 votes. Smart Legislation is arguing that this is clear evidence the results of the election are incorrect. They will now subpoena records and attempt to get a hand recount of the original ballots.
Related news, an Elon Musk created PAC in Georgia has been officially reprimanded by the Georgia State Election Board for sending pre-filled absentee ballot applications in 2024 in violation of Georgia election law. This, according to 11 Alive, a local news station in Georgia. Several counties were flagged by the Georgia Board of Elections, include Chattooga, Cherokee,
Mommy, Daddy, stop fighting. It's my birthday party. Elon Musk and Donald Trump aren't getting along. And Elon Musk today tweeted this: without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House, and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. Such ingratitude. Why is he saying this? Because he's been ousted, and because he does not like the big, beautiful bill that's about to be passed. He says he did not get to read it ahead of time, that it was voted.
Elon Musk is officially back on the Trump train. Musk just announced he's going all in, funding Republicans for the 2026 midterms, warning that America is toast if the radical left wins. According to Musk, if Democrats win, the country will collapse, borders will disappear, fraud will explode, and America will just stop being America. Let's be clear about what this actually is. This is one of the richest men on earth, openly telling you he's spending massive amounts of money to control elections. Again. And remember, Musk already dropped nearly $300 million backing Trump and Republicans in 2024. Now he's doubling down for 2026. And the timing is very interesting. Just months ago, Musk was trashing Trump, accusing him of covering up Epstein files and considering starting his own political party. Now suddenly it's hugs at the White House, nodding along while Trump pats him on the arm, and checks getting written. Why? Because Musk learned something the hard way. Power protects billionaires. Regulation doesn't. So now he's back where it's safe. Backing the same politicians who promised tax cuts, deregulation, and 0 consequences.
Explain, what does paying $100 to voters mean? What's that about?
So Musk is paying voters $100 a pop to sign a petition opposing quote unquote activist judges. And I just saw that he has now given $1 million to a supposedly random winner of the petition signing, which is just a staggering amount of money. And he's going to keep doing that every 2 days until the election. And this is just a crazy scheme in a state Supreme Court race. Remember, Amy, this is about electing judges. These are people that are supposed to be impartial in terms of how they rule. And basically what Musk is doing is he's taking the playbook that he used, which was very controversial, very legally suspect, certainly ethically dubious in terms of getting Donald Trump back in the White House. And he's trying to use it in a state Supreme Court election in Wisconsin. And we've never seen this kind of thing in a judicial race before. We've never seen this kind of money in Wisconsin before or any other state Supreme Court race. We've never seen these kind of tactics in a state Supreme Court race before. And so just the level of corruption at play here, the level of money at play here, really is a warning sign for what's happening to our democracy.
Is Elon Musk a piece of shit? Let's talk about it. Today we're going to be breaking down the financial impact that Elon Musk had in the 2024 presidential election. I'm not going to be giving out a grade in this video, so just let me know down in the comments what you think. Alright, so we're mostly going to be focusing on Elon Musk's super PAC, America PAC. America PAC raised $263 million, with $249 million coming directly from Elon Musk. You might remember those $1 million payouts that went directly to voters. Those came from America PAC. Additionally, he was the sole contributor to RBG PAC, giving $20 million to run advertisements about how Ruth Bader Ginsburg was politically aligned with Donald Trump. Another channel can talk about why that might be problematic. Now, to put this all into perspective, if you were to add up the amount of money that Donald Trump raised in his candidate committee and add it to the amount of super PAC money that was spent to support him as well, it would total about $1.5 billion. That means that Elon Musk was responsible for 20% of the funds that went towards supporting Donald Trump last election cycle. So let me know what you think. If you want me to look into another large donor, drop their name in the comments.
Folks, we got some big breaking news right now. Elon Musk has just deleted a tweet in a panic that he had sent out at 1 a.m., virtually promising voters in Wisconsin $1 million for their vote. Let me show you this. Here was Musk's 1 a.m. tweet. He wrote, "On Sunday night, I will give a talk in Wisconsin. Entrance is limited to those who have voted in the Supreme Court election. I will also personally hand over 2 checks for $1 million each in appreciation for you taking the time to vote. This is super important." Well, after coming under legal scrutiny, Elon Musk deleted the tweet, and now the Democratic chair of Wisconsin, Ben Wickler, says that what Elon Musk did was likely a felony. We just had Wickler on the Midas Touch podcast for his first comments in the wake of Musk's deleted tweet. I'm going to play it for you right now, and remember to add the Midas Touch podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Hey, Ben, we just learned that Elon Musk deleted the tweet where he talked about paying people $1 million to show up at a town hall. I mean, was that a crime that we saw? What's going on in Wisconsin right now?
Elon Musk deleted that tweet because he knows that tweet was a crime, and it's still a crime. In Wisconsin law, it is plain as day. You cannot promise something of value in order to induce someone to vote or refrain from voting. This is Wisconsin statute, and it's a felony to cross that line. Elon Musk has committed blatantly, obviously, an illegal act to help Brad Schimmel buy his seat on the Wisconsin State Supreme Court. And Elon Musk should be brought to justice for that crime.
So check this out. Elon Musk just exposed Donald Trump's entire strategy with this whole Epstein thing going on. And this is not the only post that Elon Musk made about it today, but in response to Donald Trump's statement where he told his supporters to not support him anymore if they still care about the Epstein files, Elon said, "The old, admit nothing, deny everything, make counterclaims, but it won't work this time." Elon Musk, of course, knows the inner workings of Donald Trump's circle. He knows their strategy when they have bad PR moments like this, and it appears to just be these 3 simple rules. Elon Musk also went on to say he should just release the files and point out which part is the hoax, because Donald Trump's whole thing now is that Democrats apparently faked the Epstein files, that it was written by them. I don't know. He was also asked, did you know what you were stepping into when you got involved with Donald Trump? And he said, we were all told that the list was going to be released. So he's obviously feeling very betrayed. I mean, we know that Elon Musk and Donald Trump are not friends anymore, but I would love to hear more from Musk about what he meant when he said that Trump is in the Epstein files. I think he should just come out and say it. Anyway, I'm going to go break this down on my YouTube and my Spotify show, link in bio.
Not enough people are talking about this, but Donald Trump posted a map on his Truth Social account that closely mirrors a map used by the technocratic movement. This is an anti-democratic ideology that rejects elections in favor of centralized control by the elites. Here's what Trump posted on his Truth Social account. He's in the Oval Office with a bunch of world leaders, and right there is the map we're going to be focusing on. Zooming in, we can see it has the American flag depicted over Canada, Greenland, as well as Venezuela. And here's a look at the Technocracy of America map. Looks kind of similar, doesn't it? Let's put them side by side. We can see they practically have the exact same region shaded. The only difference is that on the Technocracy map, you can see Mexico is fully shaded as well. Coincidentally enough, Elon Musk's grandfather just so happened to be a huge part of the technocracy movement back in the day. He was the leader of Technocracy Inc., and over the course of several decades, he repeatedly expressed these types of views right here. Not a very good person. He was anti-democratic. His movement actually got banned in Canada because he expressed pro-mustache man views, and he was later arrested because of this. But technocracy is a terrible form of government that Donald Trump is openly embracing. It undermines democracy by sidelining public input and creates an elitist system where experts rule over citizens. It just so happens the Soviet Union also had strong technocratic tendencies as well. Again, what a coincidence. We can't keep ignoring the signs. Donald Trump wants to rule over us. He wants to take away democracy. He even once said, "If you vote for me this one time, you'll never have to vote again."
Elon was not involved other than vouching because he wanted to be legally pure. And it was all done super legally through Cyber Command. The information was taken to Cyber Command, and the United States government, through its existing legal authorities, zapped a place in Belgrade, Serbia. I heard they smoked. There's ways hackers can get on and defeat security protocols, overclock a processor in your machine, turn off the fan, and melt it down. I heard that they melted down some of the computers. Who knows if hackers exaggerated on that. That's what really happened. Elon wasn't part of that because he was trying to be a legal virgin about it all. But he played a super critical role. He had my Zorro. Can I tell you what Zorro said?
Thank you.
Billionaire oligarch Elon Musk has long supported right-wing causes here in the United States, including spending $250 million to re-elect Donald Trump. But recently he's decided to take his political project global, backing far-right parties in many other countries and using his massive platform to attack anyone who doesn't share his views. Let's start with Germany. In December, Musk publicly endorsed the German Alternative for Deutschland, or AfD, a far-right political party with deep ties to the neo-Nazi movement. Its founder and former leader, Alexander Golan, has said that Germany should be proud of its soldiers in the world wars and that people should no longer reproach Germans for World War II. Another prominent AfD leader openly plays with Nazi themes, shouting at meetings, "Everything for Germany," a Nazi stormtrooper slogan banned in Germany. As recently as 2023, AfD members participated in a secret meeting in Potsdam that included neo-Nazis where they discussed a mass deportation plan for, quote, non-assimilated Germans. They are also vehemently anti-Muslim. A 2017 AfD manifesto said, quote, "Islam does not belong in Germany. The AfD sees the spread of Islam and the presence of over 5 million Muslims, whose numbers are constantly growing, as a great danger to our state, our society, and our system of values." Despite trying to put forward a more moderate face in recent years, the current party co-leader Alice Weidel has said she sees the defeat of Nazi Germany as the defeat of one's own country by a former occupying power, rather than the country's liberation from the cruelty of Nazism. But Musk seems fine with all this. He has written that, quote, "only the AfD can save Germany," unquote. He has repeatedly praised the party and recently hosted a live stream with Weidel to boost the party's electoral chances. And it's not just the German far right. Musk has regularly attacked UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, most recently saying that Starmer was complicit in the rape of Britain and calling for him to face criminal charges, while calling another Labour minister a rape genocide apologist. Musk has also repeatedly called for the release of Tommy Robinson, a member of England's openly fascist British National Party who is serving time in prison after libeling a 15-year-old Syrian refugee who was violently assaulted at school. Musk was so angry about Robinson's imprisonment that he suggested on X that the US should liberate the Brits from their tyrannical government. But Musk hasn't stopped with Germany and Britain. He has also leveled personal insults at many other officials who don't share his far-right agenda. He called German Chancellor Olaf Scholz an incompetent fool, and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau an insufferable tool. He's tried to get Italian judges fired for their rulings on immigration laws and attacked the European Union for its efforts to regulate social media platforms. Obviously, Musk has a right to free speech, but that doesn't mean he should be able to use his enormous wealth, much of which was obtained from American taxpayers via tens of billions in US government contracts and clean energy credits, to promote far-right extremists and interfere in the domestic politics of our closest allies. And that doesn't mean there should not be consequences when these words incite violence. The truth is that Musk is a symptom of a deeper problem in our democracy: the corrosive power of extreme wealth in warping our politics and concentrating power in the hands of just a few people. Around the world, we're seeing super wealthy, well-connected oligarchs using their economic power to swing elections, direct mobs, stifle critics, and seize political power. That's what Musk.
As I said, 70% of the U.S. is using these top major brands, top three. And what's really interesting is we're finding, as we've investigated these systems, just some numbers, because it's really hard to kind of look at. It's almost like the companies are pretty tight-lipped about what they use and what they do.
Sure.
They label it under proprietary knowledge, or I own the tech,
IP,
so you can't. Yeah, it's a black box is really what it is. And what's interesting is, as we've started investigating these major systems, we're finding that at the precinct level, for like election day or in-person voting, for example, in 24 election, like 68% of the vote across the U.S. was hand-marked paper ballots. We're not using voting machines, right? We're using paper ballots. And the other two was like 22% was like machine-marked paper ballots and maybe voting machines. What's interesting is even those, right? Even the hand-marked paper ballots, nearly 100% of all the votes cast in 24 were counted by a machine, a optical scanner, a tabulation, a vote counting computer. And people don't realize that. And so that's really important, is that all of our votes are being counted by these systems and these machines. And we started finding that some of these systems are connected to the internet. They do have cellular modems in them. So if you could compromise them that way, we don't know truly if they're what level or what scale. We don't know how you could do this, but the data is telling us there's a problem here.
Something.
And it needs to be investigated. At least 70% of the U.S., especially the swing states, use these top three systems, these voting systems, and they have optical scanners. They count your votes. We call them, tabulation machines or tabulation computers. And so biggest three, is going to be ES&S, Dominion, and Hard Intercivic. And what we have started to find is we found, when we look at all three of those statistically, in the swing states and the non-swing states, votes counted by those systems have started to raise the same red flags we've been talking about. And one test we did recently is we looked at Minnesota, a blue state, and we actually looked at, they use some of the same systems that are used in Pennsylvania and North Carolina. And we looked at their voting results statistically, because Harris still won that state. And we found that some of their precincts in some of their counties actually were small enough to hand count. So we said, listen, if there's a compromise of the tabulation systems, let's test places that didn't use these systems, and let's see if there's a noticeable difference between the results. To sum up the findings, we looked at precincts of around the same size of registered voters. So we said, let's compare precincts all across the county and all across the state that are the same size, maybe the same demographic of voters, right? Smaller rural areas. And let's look at how many votes Trump's getting and how many votes Harris is getting. and let's compare them to places that hand counted. And what we're finding is, on average, a 6 to 8% difference benefiting the Republican candidate for president. But this effect is also seen at the down ballot levels as well. So we're seeing like almost every Republican on the ticket is getting that same difference.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is we looked at nonpartisan races or ballot questions where we're not seeing the same effects there. We are very concerned that if there's a compromise of these systems, not only could it be used to change votes, but it could be used to potentially change the outcome of not only maybe whole states worth of results, but perhaps the election as a whole. So those are our concerns.
This isn't election denial, right? That's the big thing is everyone's like, hey, questioning elections, that's wrong. The problem is audits and investigating our systems is not, it's not illegal. I've had the chance to meet with multiple secretaries of state and their staff. Every time we meet with them, their response is always this simple statement: it can't happen here. It's impossible. All I'm saying is we're going to lay out the facts and the data, and then we'll ask that question again. Can it happen here? What would it need to take? I think America has this mindset in our elections. We think we're immune, right?
Yeah.
We think we're special.
Right.
We think America is the best thing there is when it comes to how we run our elections. Yeah, we're number one.
Number one.
And the problem is, as we've started digging, we're finding that there are so many things that are raising red flags. And we just want answers at this point.
There's no fucking way the machines can be changed. They're separate. They're on by themselves. There ain't no modem. That machine is independent, separate, and not connected to anything. Counterpoint.
Here's the fun part. Almost all of those major talking points may not actually be true. The main argument is our systems aren't connected to the internet, right? That's what we get told. We get told, hey, you couldn't compromise these anyways because they're not plugged in. During the election, during voting, they're disconnected. We're getting told, officials have cited this to me when I met with Secretary of State and their staff. They said our systems aren't connected to the internet. And then I asked them in the next sentence, how do you send your data from your precinct to your county? They say, we use, the modems and the cellular. I'm like, so listen, hold up.
Let's get a little bit into the systems, because a lot of the time we get asked that question. We're like, well, if there is a compromise of the systems, well, every state runs their own elections. It would be impossible to do this and pull this off in some of the bluest states in the country and it not be caught, right? Well, we are told time and time again our systems are not connected to the internet. We're told that we do audits. It would be impossible to mess with our systems. It can't happen here. Well, first and foremost, most people do not realize that 70% of the U.S. Has these two major brands, ES&S and Dominion, which everyone knows now at this point. If you haven't, Dominion recently changed hands. And these two major brands span 70% of the U.S. They span the swing states. And as of now, we know that these systems have been targeted by both foreign and domestic entities and been successfully compromised on multiple occasions. The key takeaways, of course, this is the first report of Michigan. We're also working on a report for Wisconsin. Obviously, we'll scale up and out and cover more counties in this state, but we'll also talk about Wisconsin next. We have a deep dive for Minnesota, I believe I mentioned. But really, the kind of the call to action here is we need an audit of paper records. We need an independent audit of the original ballots. We need to verify they match the digital reports. We need to do our due diligence before the midterms, because all of the analysis we've conducted to this point has been raising these red flags across the swing states. And it is more likely than not the consistency of these voting behaviors. It very much so looks like a algorithmic change to the voting based on turnout. And it becomes very difficult to argue that this is human voter behavior because it's so consistent from county to county and state to state, completely independent of demographics. So it is a very big concern. We're using the same voting systems in all of these places. We're finding problems.
Dude, I'm fucked. If we lose, I'm fucked.
It does seem that way.
I'm a technologist. I know a lot about computers. And I'm like, the last thing I would do is trust a computer program. Because it's just too easy to hack. It's too easy to add just one line.
And he knows those computers better than anybody, all those computers, those vote counting computers. And we ended up winning Pennsylvania like in a landslide, so it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So thank you to Elon. He said, you know, computers are the greatest. He looked at some that were just shipped in, some of these vote counting computers. He knew it before it even came in the door. He looked like at the back of it. Oh, I know that one. I mean, he knows he knows this stuff better than anyone. And they rigged the election. And now we won, so I'm going to be your president for the Olympics. Voters, you don't have to vote. Don't worry about voting. The voting, we got plenty of votes. Yeah, we'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote. And I said, we have nothing to hide as Republicans, right? We have nothing to hide. But
look at the data as it comes in from every county in Pennsylvania.
Oh, he can tell us.
Actually, the Sunday before the election, I had the opportunity to meet with Elon Musk at his house for a couple hours to talk about the election. And aren't you all glad he's on our side? And he told me, he said, I can tell you right now, I'm responsible for this. He said, I'm involved in every battleground state, and we're going to win every battleground state. And I am convinced that whatever he did, whatever rocket science thing he did, made a huge difference in this election.
Apparently, Elon created an app, and he knew who won 4 hours before the results. So as the results were coming in, before 4
With certain groups in politics, every accusation is an admission. Mail-in voter fraud is less common than being struck by lightning, but it does happen. And in the two most notable cases I found, the biggest accusers were the biggest violators. In 2024, Elon Musk called for abolishing mail-in voting, and he amplified false narratives about mail-in voter fraud in Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, in Georgia, at the same time, his PAC was sending illegal, partially pre-filled absentee ballot applications to voters. In February 2026, the Georgia State Election Board determined that this conduct violated election law, and they sent him a letter of reprimand.
I hate this motherfucker. I generally think he's a terrible role model for young men and is doing tremendous damage. Whenever you're being sued concurrently by two separate women for sole custody of your child because you haven't seen that child, it's just kind of a red flag. That's the person that shouldn't be deciding whether kids are getting their SNAP food payments or not, or veterans are getting their payments. I think what will be the real interesting test here in terms of the association or affiliation of an individual's brand and their company is if Starlink starts to have contracts canceled. I think that would be a 5-car alarm for him. I think the reason he did this was absolutely nothing to do with patriotism. I think that's ridiculous and comical that this guy's going to do anything for America. But he saw an opportunity, and he's already done this, to blow up the regulators getting in the way of his autonomous vehicle regulation around the Defense Department, and regulation around things like Starlink and satellites. But I think if this continues to erode his wealth across his companies, he'll decide to fade out. I just think every decision these guys make is reverse engineered to money. And the Wall Street Journal estimates that Doge is actually going to save $2.6 billion. And the amount of subsidies to just Tesla has been somewhere between 15 and 50 billion. So if you want a 6x Doge savings, just cut all subsidies to Tesla. I hate this.
Mr. Talcove, do you know how much money a day Mr. Musk will receive from the federal government for his contracts?
No.
The answer is $8 million a day. Just last year, Elon Musk was promised $3 billion from close to 100 contracts with the federal government.
We have some major news right now that no one is talking about. At Dominion Voting Systems, one of the major voting machine companies in the entire country, the one at the center of all the election-related lawsuits over Trump and stuff, they were bought by a former Republican election official today, according to Axios. And this new
Hey, Georgia. It is a massively enormous mistake to pretend that Donald Trump and Elon Musk didn't do something even more shady than what I'm about to read to you. If Donald Trump wanted to really find evidence of foreign interference in Georgia's elections, then they need to look no further than the president's old friend Elon Musk and his shady super PAC. Members of the Georgia State Elections Board voted Wednesday to issue a formal letter of reprimand to Musk's America PAC over the billionaire technocrat's illegal scheme to get Trump elected in the battleground state. In October of 2024, the Georgia Secretary of State's office launched an investigation after receiving numerous reports from residents across several counties saying they had received partially pre-filled absentee ballot applications from Musk's America PAC.
I just wanted to address the Elon Musk tweet from this weekend. He posted 14 American flags at 1:14 p.m. yesterday, and that is, yes, don't be gaslit. That is a sign or signal within the white supremacist culture that stands for the 14-word slogan. And since all the Yahtzees are coming out of the woodwork, it's good to know what these dog whistles are. The 14-word slogan posted at 11:14 or 1:14 p.m. means, quote, we must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. So when fascism comes to America, it will always be wrapped in a flag. So that's fun. They're not really hiding it anymore. I did think that this takeover and the co-opting of government would be, a little less clownish, but in case you guys, while you're still filtering into the show, miss this is completely absurd.
We have some major news right now. A new New York Times investigation reveals a push behind the scenes within the Trump administration to seize control of elections ahead of 2026 and 2020.
Isn't it so convenient that we are about to enter a shooting war with Iran? Now that news is finally breaking through to the mainstream that the 2024 election was stolen. June 17th, 2025. This is from the Election Truth Alliance. Leading expert in election forensics of the University of Michigan has found statistical evidence of voter manipulation in 2024 in Pennsylvania. This guy is legit. He is a recognized authority on election interference. He has studied election fraud in Venezuela, Turkey, Kenya, and Iran. His model estimates between 25,000 and 225,000 votes in Pennsylvania were fraudulent. Trump won Pennsylvania by 120,000 votes. So yes, we are going to go to war with Iran for the same reason Israel went to war with Iran, in order to keep their corrupt leadership out of prison. We're going to jump head on toward a nuclear apocalypse in order to protect criminals. I don't know about you, but that is a hard red line for me. Isn't it so convenient?
When I began tracking this story earlier this year, it was just a gut feeling that something wasn't right. Kind of like the lawsuit in Rockland County, New York. That was the case where voters reported filling out their ballots for Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and Kamala Harris, yet somehow Harris received 0 votes in certain districts. 0. The discrepancy was so unusual that a judge allowed the case to move forward into discovery, meaning the ballots and records themselves will be examined more closely. But it wasn't until yesterday that certain pieces started to click into place when I read a post on Substack by This Will Hold. There, a man named Adam Zernowski, who identifies himself as a former CIA operative, claimed he had worked on a secret NSA forensic audit of the 2024 election. Now, it's difficult to independently confirm the background of someone who worked in intelligence, but the focus here isn't his resume, it's the allegation itself. And that allegation is simple and shocking. The NSA audit showed Kamala Harris and Tim Walz won by a wide margin, and Donald Trump lost decisively. But the results, Zarnowski says, were buried. So how could that happen? Zarnowski points to a software change pushed through by Election Systems and Software, or ES&S, the company that runs nearly 70% of voting machines in the country. It was called ECL 1188, short for Engineering Change Order. On the surface, it looked like a minor update, but it moved a critical configuration file outside of normal security checks. That file controlled how votes were recorded and tallied. By shifting it outside of oversight, the update created what cybersecurity experts call a backdoor into the vote totals themselves. And if you have a backdoor into a system that sensitive, you don't need to break down the front door. You can simply walk in and alter results without setting off alarms. This change was approved by the testing lab ProVNV and by the Federal Election Assistance Commission. even though independent experts had been warning for years that vulnerabilities like this were possible. Sarnowski argues that this wasn't just a mistake or bureaucratic negligence. He connects it to a larger pattern of corruption, organized crime, and transnational networks of power and money that, in his telling, intersected with Trump's rise to power. He says none of what he's disclosing is classified, and that he's ready to testify under oath. His demand is pretty straightforward: a full forensic hand count of the 2024 election. Now, these are extraordinary claims. They have not been independently verified, but as a history teacher, I know that democracies rarely collapse in a single dramatic moment. More often, they corrode when oversight fails, when institutions look the other way, and when the people stop paying attention.
There is no precedent in American history for a private businessman having this kind of influence over the very intimate elements of the U.S. government. Of course, rich people have always been influential. They've shaped legislation, they've influenced presidents, and so on. But to have a private businessman who has no government position, who's not been confirmed by Congress, who the people who are working for him are not government employees, or it's unclear what their status is, they don't have any right to this information, they don't have security clearances. This breaks so many lines of illegality that it looks much more like a hostile takeover by an outside power. I mean, if you saw, I don't know, the Chinese government or Chinese hackers doing what they're doing and trying to get access to that kind of information at that level, you would immediately see that as a kind of declaration of war. There is no precedent.
Well, the important thing to understand here is that Smartmatic has its office in Caracas, and it's co-located with the Consejo National Electoral, the National Electoral Commission. And there's 150 Smartmatic engineers and 150 CNE engineers side by side. And they have two missions. Number one, steal elections. Number two, defeat audit. Study audit. How do different states and different localities conduct audit so that when they're audited, you defeat audit? An example, when people put absentee ballots on a scanner, it'll take a picture and take a picture and take a picture. And then when it's about to save them, it gets ready to take a picture of almost 100 together. But what it does is they erase that picture, send in another picture, because all these machines are connected to the internet. They're all hooked up. They're not supposed to be. A new picture comes in, 100 votes or 90% for the person that they want. But when you do the audit, you're not allowed to look in the box. You have to look at the screens. They've changed the rules around the country in the different states that make it almost impossible to show that they cheated because of, and what they do also is they'll make proprietary the source code. You can't examine that. You can't look at different types of technologies proprietary, because that's where they're cheating. And they blocked those individuals very cleverly. One of the things that we learned, there's 14 different technical ways that you can steal an election. And they're operating off different parts of the machinery, but they can use number 1 and number 3, number 6 and number 7. They can use combinations, and they never use the same combinations in adjacent districts.
So that you can't find patterns.
They prepare an election a year in advance. They have the poll books. They have hundreds of people. They have statisticians. They have comms engineers, software engineers. This was the science of engineer theft and a multi-billion-dollar business globally.
And that's what...
This is what wealth inequality in the United States actually looks like. This grain of rice represents $200,000. That's about the median net worth of a citizen in the United States, which means if you took our population and drew a line split down the middle, about half of us have this much or less. Half of us have this much or less. Just gonna put that down right there, 1 grain of rice. This is $1 million, 5 grains of rice. When most of us think rich, we think of $1 million. This is $100 million. This is about the net worth of CEOs who delay and deny care for sick Americans. This is also about the net worth of CEOs who tell Americans to eat cereal if they can't afford food for their hungry kids. This is $277 million. This is Elon Musk's personal investment in the 2024 elections. This is what he spent to buy the presidency. This is $1 billion. This is the approximate net worth of Vivek Ramaswamy. Only 800 people in the United States have this much money or more. As a frame of reference, think about how many people you went to high school with. Only 800. And this is $6.3 billion. This is the approximate net worth of Donald Trump. He recently said in an interview that he doesn't think he can bring grocery prices down after running his campaign on a promise to do so. He also blames immigrants who have less than a fraction of a grain of rice each for a lot of the financial troubles facing our country. And this is Elon Musk. He's worth $400 billion. He spent $277 million on the 2024 election cycle, while we have homeless veterans on our streets and hungry kids in our schools. This is what actual wealth disparity looks like in America. Each grain of rice is worth $200,000. And Elon Musk also wants to fire 75% of our federal workforce, which includes a majority of veterans. He wants to fire 75% of these people who have a single grain of rice trying to earn a living and feed their families, because he says that that's inefficient. Musk, Ramaswamy, and certain members of Congress also want to consider cutting social welfare programs that support people with less than a single grain of rice from going into poverty. They want to look at cutting these programs because they believe that that's inefficient.
Did you know that Elon Musk is trying to pay himself $2.4 billion of your taxpayer money? This man is a cartoon villain of corruption. So here's the deal. The FAA finalized a $2.4 billion contract with Verizon to upgrade the system that air traffic control sites use to communicate with each other. And anyone who's watched the news lately knows why that's important. But a few days ago, Musk's staff infiltrated the FAA, claiming that they were modernizing the agency's technology. And almost immediately, Musk started publicly attacking Verizon. And now, just a couple of days later, we find out that the FAA is planning to cancel the $2.4 billion contract with Verizon and hand it to, you guessed it, Elon Musk. And this is far from the only contract Musk has received since he joined the Trump administration. So let me sum this up for you. Elon Musk, the world's wealthiest man and one of the biggest federal contractors, has been tapped as a special government employee to root out waste in the federal government. And then he uses this power to gut federal agencies, install his lackeys so they'll go in and cancel federal contracts, and then turn around and award them to his own companies. This is textbook corruption, and it's coming out of your tax dollars.